على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. A person plants a garden, plants a flower bush, plants a tree, puts some seed in the ground with the hope and expectation that this is going to grow into something beautiful. And it often does. But sometimes that plant may need to be trellised, it might need some support. So the gardener will put some supports there so that very gentle stalk of the plant can lean on that support and eventually grow up. Sometimes the bush, or if it's a tree, in order to maintain its neatness and in order to keep it healthy, it needs to be trimmed. So someone might be pruning the trees and the bushes. Sometimes weeds will pop up all around and the gardener has to get on his hands and knees and pull these weeds out. It takes a lot of time and effort to grow anything, whether it's a single plant or it's an entire garden. And people will only give attention to and care for those plants that they want. No one spends time watering the weeds. No one spends time trimming them and shaping them or pruning them. Weeds don't have much value to the gardener, and the gardener is just eager to get rid of them. And the gardener wants to spend as little time as possible on those weeds because they're just a nuisance. And he just wants them out of sight in the quickest, easiest way possible. That's why sometimes they'll just douse them with weed killer and with chemicals. But the plants, whether they're for the purpose of flowers or fruit, or just they have their own natural beauty, the gardener gives a lot of time to those. Similar is the case with Tarbiya. When we undertake to do Tarbiya, which means the nurturing and the upbringing of people, it's a huge task, and it's much more complicated than a garden. Because these are not just seeds that you plant and you put some water and maybe some fertilizer and they'll just grow on their own. People will also grow, but they're people. They're subject to many different conditions. They're subject to many influences. In fact, we as human beings are influenced by everything and anything that we come into contact with. At some level, it's affecting us. So, the upbringing of people and the training of people is much more complicated and difficult than a garden of plants. But the idea is similar. You only spend time on plants that you care about and that you want because they're going to yield something. Similarly, you only spend time on individuals that you care about, that you have faith in, you have trust in, and you know that inside this person is a beauty that is waiting to be unleashed. It's waiting to be unlocked. There is immense potential. There is talent. There's ability. There is strength. There is resilience. Even inside there is the ability to motivate others. All of that exists within the person, but it's a very complicated and difficult task to try to get the person in touch with this part of themselves. Because most of the time we're connecting with that part of ourselves which is quick and easy. It's the instant knee-jerk reactions. It's the impulses. It's the external influences that are pushing us towards those things that are they just seem too attractive to miss out on. They seem too appealing. It's that instant gratification. It's that instant satisfaction that you get from doing something which might appear to be really annoying, but for some reason it's strangely satisfying and you get hooked on it. So dealing with people is very difficult. But because it is arguably the most difficult task in the world. That's why the greatest people in the world were chosen for it, and that was the prophets. The prophets ﷺ were given the task of taking human beings and turning them into real human beings, unlocking this hidden potential inside and releasing it so that the whole world could benefit. And that's what every prophet did. And in the process, these prophets suffered a lot of abuse. Sometimes people would abuse a prophet for many years before they ended up becoming his followers. Look at Khalid ibn al-Walid radiyallahu anhu. For years, he waged a battle against the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In fact, he is the one who engineered the losses against the Muslims in the Battle of Uhud, because of which some 70 Sahaba were martyred. And an immense blow to the morale of the Muslims. He was the mastermind behind that plan. But after some time, he also ended up becoming a follower, and not just a follower of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he ended up becoming a leader of the Muslims. Abu Sufyan waged war after war against Islam, against the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and just before the conquest of Makkah, he ends up accepting Islam. It took people a long time to get the message that what is this Prophet actually trying to do? But the Prophet was there, like that farmer, like that gardener, tending to this garden, continues to plant the seeds and water them, remove the weeds, and trim those branches that are going to extremes and making the whole bush look unsightly. They continued doing this work, notwithstanding the extreme opposition. And why was this opposition? You're telling us to change our ways. Why do you want us to change our ways? Why do you want us to change the way we do things? Why do you want us to change the way we believe? You want us to change the way we speak. You want us to change the way we appear. Why are you doing this? We don't like this. That's not what we do around here. That's not a part of our culture. And the Prophet would say that I am doing this because this is the message of Allah who created you, who is your nourisher, your master, your protector, the one who's given you everything that you have. He's also given you a life, and that life that He has given you is not incomplete. Just like no system of the universe is incomplete, the system of life is also not incomplete. But because we are pulled, as human beings, we're pulled in so many different directions. We have our nafs, our carnal desires, our ego pulling away at us. We have social pressures, peer pressures pulling away at us. We have external pressures from outside pulling away at us, and we're torn in between all of this. And sometimes we don't know, what am I really supposed to be like? What am I supposed to look like and act like and talk like? Why are people having such expectations from me? I don't know what's going on. And some people give up on themselves. Our mandate, or our objective, our project, our aim, our mission is no different from what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ set out to do once he received that first revelation in the cave of Hira. Or what he set out to do when he migrated to Medina and started spreading his deen. Our objective is no different. And we understand, we truly and honestly understand that you don't always understand what we're saying. We know that. You don't always understand what we're saying. You don't always agree with what we're saying. And sometimes you feel targeted. And sometimes you feel like it's just not fair. And that's just not right. Why do you have to talk to me in that way? Why do you have to tell me in this way? Why do we need these rules? Why do we need this system? We understand. Because we've also grown up as kids and gone through the exact same emotional state that you are feeling today. And tomorrow you will be in our position, where there will be people under your care, people who you will be in charge of raising and nurturing and refining, and they're not going to get what you're saying. They're going to say, why are you so harsh, and why are you telling us so many things, and what's your problem? Why don't you just leave us alone? Tomorrow you'll be in the same position. But those people that are saying that will be some of the people that you care about the most. They will be the people that you love the most. They will be your own children. Or they will be your own students. There will be people that you have invested yourself into. Our request from you, and it's just a request, is at least bring yourself to this phase where at least you understand that whatever we're saying, it's probably for your betterment. Probably. At least gamble to that extent that what they're saying is there's probably some good in it. If you can come that far, we'll meet you halfway and we'll try to make it sound as reasonable as possible. But if you say, no, get out of here, I'm not doing that, forget it, what a dumb idea. If that's where you're standing, it's going to be very hard for us to climb over and try to bring you over, because now it's a tug of war. We're saying yes, you're saying no. We're saying no, you're saying yes. And this tug of war is not going to get any, it doesn't matter who wins, it's a big waste of time. And tug of wars are usually fun, this won't be fun. At least come to this point where you have that much of a vote of confidence that what they're saying is probably something good for us. And maybe I'll try to understand it. I might not have to understand it right now. Maybe I don't agree with it at all. Maybe I don't understand it at all, but I'll try. I'll try. And the things that you're having difficulty in understanding, tell us that you're having difficulty in understanding. Because it's very hard for us sitting here to know everything that's going on in everyone's minds. But when we connect individually, and it doesn't have to be in front of people, it can be in complete confidence, and it could be about the silliest things. But you can come to us and say, look, I don't get this. Can you explain this to me? Why do we have to do this? Or why can't we do that? Or why do you guys talk to us in this way? Come and let's start a conversation. Let's develop an understanding. With that understanding, we can do a lot of things. But when that understanding isn't there, trust, confidence, friendship, reliance, it's all missing from the picture. It's a very lopsided way of doing things. It's not real. It doesn't feel real. It feels mechanical. It feels fake. It feels like it's just superficial. That, oh yeah, okay, fine, these guys are not going to get off our case, so let's just do this to make some people happy for now, and then we go on with our lives. That's not what this is about, honestly. So we would like to be able to connect with you at a more real level, at a more personal level, at a more individual level, where we get to understand you as a person, where you're coming from. And all of you are different in that way. We get to understand your challenges, we get to understand your problems, and you get to understand where we're coming from. And you get to understand our problems too, and our challenges too, and it's a two-way street. We never want to be in this position where we're just telling you, do it, do this, don't do this, don't do this, and you guys are just following along. Okay guys, another rule, here we go again. Really, that's a very miserable environment to live in. It's a terrible environment. Nobody enjoys it. The one who is talking and giving the instructions doesn't enjoy it, and those who are being instructed also, they don't enjoy it. Our investment, our greatest investment, is in you as people. It's not the buildings, it's not the land, it's not the systems, it's you. You are the end game. The higher the quality of the students, people, humans I would say, the higher the quality of human beings we are able to produce, the greater our degree of success. And if we can't do that, then we failed. And we are the first ones to acknowledge that failure. But we want to work with you, and we want you to work with us. So when next year comes around, let's start this whole thing fresh. Let's not have a tug of war. Let's not have these side conversations where when I'm sitting together with some of my colleagues, I have all these negative things that I have to say about you guys. And when you're sitting down with your friends, you have a bunch of negative things to say about the school. Let's end that, because that's not healthy. And we will always find a way to make it work where the school is running in an orderly way. There is a high standard of behavior, and people are also happy. People are happy to be here. People feel good about what they're doing. There is a way to achieve that. And we hope to work on that together. And we are very sincere when we say that we want to work with you on this. We don't want to tell you guys. We don't want to tell you guys what to do. When I was a student, 16 years old, 17 years old. The teachers had so much confidence that they actually had us run the school the way we wanted to. What rules do you think are important? They'd ask us, what rules do you think we don't need? What's a good sense of discipline? What's a good way to do this? And we would come up with the ideas. You know what? We can control this problem by doing this. And we'd manage it as students. And you guys are no different. You're the same. So, think about this. This is a garden that people have planted in which human beings are nurtured, human beings are cared for, human beings are taken through various phases of life until they complete their tenure over here. And we want to make that the best experience in people's lives. We don't want it to be a negative experience. So you work with us, we'll work with you, we'll develop some understandings, we'll develop some relationships, we'll sit down and chat, and inshallah, we're going to move this thing forward. Alright? Inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.